Hello. In today's video, I'm going to tell you about exactly all the supplies you need to get started in brush calligraphy without having to splurge a lot of money on brush pens. And I know how frustrating it can get. But don't worry, by the end of this video, you would have assembled the best DIY kit for a beginner in brush calligraphy under INR 1000. Also, this is the same kit that I give out in my brush calligraphy workshops, and more than 2000 students have used it so far. And with regular practice, they can create beautiful artworks and also improve upon their brush calligraphy skills. So, before we begin, quickly subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Calligraphy Raven, and stay tuned till the end to get a list of the best beginner supplies for brush calligraphy. Also, I know I'm posting a video after 6 months. That's because I was occupied with painting mural projects. If you haven't checked them out yet, you can see my YouTube shorts to get a glimpse. Thank you for sticking by for so long with me on YouTube. Now let's get back to the topic at hand. For ease of understanding, I have divided the beginner brush calligraphy supplies into two broad categories: the must-haves and the good-to-haves. The must-haves include a brush pen and paper, whereas the good-to-haves include some practice sheets and basic stationery like a ruler, pencil, and eraser. I'll explain each of these in detail as we move ahead, so stay with me till the end of the video. First things first, you only need two things to get started: a brush pen and paper, and that's why these make it to the list of the must-haves. Let's first talk about the paper. For brush calligraphy, I recommend that you use smooth paper that is equal to or above 100 GSM. This is the rule of thumb I follow while selecting a paper to use with a brush pen. So, to repeat, you have to consider two things while picking a paper for brush calligraphy. First, the paper finish should be smooth. Second, the weight of the paper should be 100 GSM or above. Now, why smooth? For this, let's have a look at the tip of the brush pen. It's shaped like a brush with soft bristles. If you use these bristles over regular copy paper, which is usually rough, the texture of the paper will rub against the bristles and wear out the tip of the brush pen faster than its usual life. So, to avoid the quick wear and tear of the brush tip, you can use smooth paper. Now, the second important aspect is the weight of the paper. If the paper is heavy, basically 100 GSM or above, it will easily absorb the juicy ink from the brush pen and keep your calligraphy intact. Otherwise, the ink starts to weather and spread out, in turn spoiling the visual appeal of your brush calligraphy. My favorite paper to practice brush calligraphy is JK Cedar printing paper. It's smooth and heavy. Also, it's quite economical. It retails for INR 490 on Amazon India. I'll add all the links in the description below. If you're not from India, you can also check out HP Premium 24 printer paper. It has the same specifications as JK Cedar. Apart from this, if you have some room in your budget and are open to trying out other papers, you can go for Rhodia pads. Also, if you want to try out heavier papers which are above 100 GSM, you can go for either Bristol paper or hot pressed watercolor paper. Both of these are very smooth and ideal for the tip of your brush pens. You can get these from Brustro on creativehands.in. Also use my code Simran10 to get a 10% discount. Most importantly, you don't have to fuss about getting the same brand. Rather, focus on the rule of thumb that I've shared with you, and you'll be able to select the best quality paper for your requirement. Now let's talk about the next supply you need: brush pens. My favorite pens to recommend to beginners are the Zig Brushables and the Tombow Fudenosuke brush pen. Both of these pens have sturdy nibs and are long lasting. Zig brushables are dual-sided, one light and one dark of the same hue. The nibs seem to resist fraying more than other similar sized brush pens. One brush pen retails for INR 250 on Amazon. The Tombow Fudenosuke brush pen is a staple in the calligraphy world. It comes in a hard and soft option, perfect for different levels of flexibility and ink flow. You can get both of these pens as they retail for only INR 260. I've created a detailed video on these pens and will link it in the top right corner. Now you must be wondering, why am I recommending two brush pens? Let me explain. As you know, brush pens have flexible tips. It means that they bend upon applying pressure. And that's how you get the thick and thin strokes. The pens that I have recommended have medium flexibility nibs, which are best suited for beginners like you. It helps them develop control over the brush pen faster as compared to softer nibs which take longer. So, if you're starting, always look for medium flexibility brush pen tips and avoid super soft tips. Just to be clear, super soft tips are great too, but you'll enjoy using them only when you have developed control over the brush pen. Basically, when you feel comfortable varying the pressure from thick to thin and vice versa. Apart from this, you'll notice that the Zig brushables have a larger tip as compared to the Tombow Fudenosuke. The large tip here allows you to write bigger letters, whereas the small tip of the Fudenosuke is best for small letters. This will also help you explore your preference for a brush pen on a shoestring budget rather than splurging money on stationery, which you might eventually end up doing anyways, cause brush calligraphy is so addictive. Another good alternative to the Zig brushables is Tombow dual tip brush pens. In fact, they are quite popular with all the calligraphy artists on Instagram. However, this was not my first choice of suggestion, as I find these tips a little harder as compared to the Zig brushables. Nonetheless, these are good brush pens. Another alternative for the Tombow Fudenosuke is the Pentel Sign brush pens. They have much softer tips and are used for writing smaller letters. Also, the most interesting thing is that you don't have to worry about being left-handed and not being able to find a brush calligraphy pen. That's because the flexible nibs of the brush pens make them quite forgiving. I always get questions on my Instagram asking, what is the best brush pen? Honestly, there is no single pen that feels best to all. That's because it depends on your purpose and preference. If you are a beginner who wants to first learn the art, then your priorities for selecting a brush pen will be different from, say, if you were a professional looking for a brush pen for your next commission work. So, I always recommend my students to keep exploring different brush pens to figure out which one they like the most. For this, you don't have to splurge. I'll share a tip with you. If I want to try out a brush pen, I only buy one marker from the entire set, usually in black color. For most brush pen brands, a single color is easily available on Amazon. This then helps me decide if I want to invest in the entire set or not. If you found this tip helpful, let me know in the comments below. Now, with the pen and paper situation sorted out, you're well equipped with the right supplies to get started in brush calligraphy. All these supplies will cost you INR 1000 and will put you on the right track to learning brush calligraphy. However, before you jump on that journey, have a look at the good to haves to add to your brush calligraphy kit. These will help you make your calligraphy learning experience smoother and faster. The first thing I would recommend you is to get some brush calligraphy practice sheets. These are traceable guides that you can get printed on the smooth printer paper from your kit. These guides will help you get control over the brush pen in between the thick and thin strokes. Not only that, it will guide you to draw basic shapes and letters the right way. I've designed these guides keeping in mind complete beginners, and they work well with large tip brush pens. This worksheet contains a full traceable alphabet exemplar, uppercase and lowercase, with numbered strokes so you can learn exactly how to form each letter. Each letter is broken down into its basic strokes so that you understand the basic shapes and then vary them to create a new style. These sheets retail for INR 499 and I'll link them in the description below. Apart from this, I strongly recommend keeping a ruler, pencil, and eraser handy. These supplies will help you draw guidelines for letters and compositions. This in turn will help you in formatting and aligning your calligraphy for better visual appeal. In fact, I prefer to lay down my calligraphy with a pencil first. This gives me a preview of my final artwork. Post making all the adjustments, I go in with my brush pen to create a finished piece. Personally, for erasing, I use either a black eraser or a kneaded eraser. These two clean the pesky pencil marks more effectively as compared to a white eraser. Also, use the pencil with a light hand so that it's easier to erase later on. So, these are my best recommendations for beginners learning brush calligraphy. To recap, the must haves include smooth paper, preferably 100 GSM or above, and a medium flex brush pen. The good to haves include traceable practice sheets, a ruler, a pencil, and an eraser. I hope you found this video helpful and are now feeling confident to pick out the best brush calligraphy supplies for you. If yes, then please hit subscribe. Once you've sorted out your supplies, I suggest you start learning the basic strokes. I have a YouTube video on the same topic and you'll also find free practice sheets over there. I'll link it in the top right corner. Happy learning! Bye bye!